A very good day to everybody. Friends, in our today's lecture, we are going to understand non-violence, vegetarianism, and world peace. Now, when we talk of Jain tradition, we all know that in Jain tradition or in Jain religion, non-violence is a central philosophy, is a central point. What is so important about non-violence? How do the Jains and in the Jain religion non-violence is understood? I'll just give you three examples or three narratives from the life history of three Tirthankaras and then go into the understanding of how non-violence ideally should be practiced, how it is practiced, how it is applied to vegetarianism and world peace. Let us take the example or narrative from the life of Tirthankar Neminath, who is the 22nd Tirthankar of the present Avsarpini Kal. Now, when he was in his own wedding procession, he heard the cries of the animals. Why were these animals lamenting and crying? They were in pain. They could understand that they are being slaughtered. Now, why these huge amount of animals were being slaughtered? They were slaughtered for the wedding feast of Neminath. Now, imagine hearing the cries of the animals today around us. We don't even know what are they undergoing. But at that time, Neminath, when he heard the voices of these animals, he sensed they are lamenting, they are grief, they are suffering. At that very moment, he decided that this is something very, very wrong. The quantum of animals slaughtered for his wedding feast, he decided to renounce the world. He understood the pain, the grief of the animals. Even if they did not speak, from their voices he could hear them. He renounced the world and he became an ascetic. He became a sadhu, he became a muni. And of course, he attained liberation and preached the path of moksha, liberation. Then we go to the life of Tirthankar Parshvanath, that is the 23rd Tirthankar of the present Avsarpini Kal. What is so important in his life? Of course, let us see that we know that once when he was meditating, Kamat was sending a lot of hardships. He was trying to disturb his meditations. How he was Kamat was, of course, a class of a low kind of a celestial, very, very ferocious and angry. The story goes that in some previous birth, they both were brothers and then their enmity occurred amongst them. And the story goes that once when this Kamat was performing a sacrifice, in the log of wood, there was a snake couple. And when this Parshvanath in that previous birth was passing through that, he could see with his internal eye or with his intuitive power, he could see the snake couple in that log was being about to be burned. He immediately removed that log and he saved that snake couple. And that snake couple in that birth when they were saved vowed to help this soul in the future birth whenever the occasion would arise. Now in this birth, when he was about to, of course, when he was Parshvanath, who was a Tirthankar, this Kamat who was the priest or a pandit or whosoever who was performing this sacrifice, he got angry, in that birth because his sacrifice was being disturbed. So in this birth he tried to disturbed Parshvanath's meditation. He sent, a lot of, that's called upasargas, to disturb, to send rain, and to send, all mosquitoes, and to throw fireballs and all sorts of disturbances. So at that very time, when he was meditating, that snake couple who became yaksha and yakshis, who were in the class of yakshis, came to help Parshvanath. They were the snake couple who became Dharnendra and Padmavati. Immediately they spread their hood around him, and they tried to save him from whatever the disturbances come at in this birth. He was trying to cause all harm to Parshvanath. Now imagine from Neminath, where he heard the cries of those animals. Those animals were, of course, you can say domesticated animals. Now here you go to the three sense animals who are snake, the couple. Parshvanath saved them in some previous birth. In this birth they were Yaksha and Yakshis, or they were belonged to the class of Yaksha and Yakshis, and the snake couple who saved him. Then of course they became his the Yaksha and Akshis. As every Tirthankar has Yaksha and Yakshis, they saved him. Not that they wanted to express gratitude. When they understood he was being disturbed, they helped him. Parshvanath, of course, in his meditation was calm and quiet. Neither did he have any hatred for the person or that deva who was sending hardships on him. Neither did he love or had that attachment towards Dhanendra Padmavati, the snake couple who saved him. But both played their part. Now you come to the life of Tirthankar Mahavira. We also know from his life history, he was passing through a jungle. That snake, the cobra, bit him, but he never got disturbed. He just told him, calm, Chandakaushik, calm, Chandakaushik. So he became calm, shed off his anger. Next day, when the villagers saw the snake, he was completely in a calm and composed position. The red ants were biting him, all sorts of things were happening. But he became calm and quiet. And Mahavira, the 24th Tirthankara of this present Avsirpini Kala, he talked about Ahimsa in his fullest form. Fullest in a very micro way. In micro way means what? Principle of Ahimsa is an eternal principle. How it is applied, that one has to see. Now when you go to Acharang Sutra, of course the words of Mahavira, the Tirthankaras, no harm should be done to any living being. Meaning, not to any 5 sense souls, but even 4 sense souls, 3 sense souls, 2 sense souls, and 1 sense souls. 1 sense soul means those living beings who have the sensation of touch. Who are they? Air, water, earth, fire, trees. They are having 1 sense of touch. So what you see their bodies is their body. So it is water-bodied jiva. That means whatever water we see, the natural water, that is their body. What we see, fire, the natural fire like lightning or automatic fire which catches, that is the body. Those are the fire-bodied jivas. The air what we breathe, we can't see their body, but those are the living organisms. So these are 1 sense souls. Then so Lord Mahavira, Tirthankar Mahavira, spoke of Ahimsa to the extreme. In what sense? That even this 1 sense soul should not be harmed, let alone those souls who are 5 sense, 4 sense, 3 sense. Snake, of course, snake is a 3 sense animals. Then you have other higher sense animals. Say we have lion, tigers, all sorts of animals. We, of course, you are not supposed to kill them at all. Even when you are using earth, air, water, XYZ, one has to be very careful in using them. That is why in Jainism it is mentioned that ascetics, sadhus, sadhvis are not supposed to do business They are not supposed to earn money. They are not supposed to engage in any worldly activity for the reason that violence is committed. Non-violence, ahimsa. So a human, animal or environment relationship is very, very crucial to understand. So what is this ecosystem which is talked about is Jainism? Of course, one, it is parasparo graha jivanam. No doubt, higher jiva can only survive on a smaller being. We can't eat non-living beings. We can't eat table and chairs. We eat living beings. Meaning, how do we eat living beings? The fruit and vegetables which are naturally fallen off the ground. Okay, now ideally, I'm talking about ideally. Forget higher animals or birds or mammals or like aquatic animals that one should not eat, for the simple reason because lot of amount of himsa is related when you kill for your eating. But even this one sense soul, how one should eat them, there when they automatically fall down. Okay, I'm talking about the real way if the ahimsa has to be followed. When they automatically fall down from their trees or from their grass, whichever way they grow, they automatically fall out. Only that are supposed to be consumed, because then they have become nirjiva, then they have become lifeless but consumable. Lifeless but consumable. And how much food should be eaten? That much which satisfies your physical hunger, not your psychological hunger but physical hunger. So your the quantum of food required for a body is different for male and female. It is different for the work what you do. Like a warrior may require that amount, that food, or a calm and quiet, or a person who is only into the learning skill may require that amount of food. The amount of food eaten is one thing, the amount of activities what you do and related with the food is another thing. One has to carefully understand. Children have different food, males and females require different kinds of food. So that is related with your physical you know characteristic features. One is a psychological hunger, where we eat for taste, for aesthetic pleasure. So now non-violence, we have tried to understand it. One, it is how it is related with vegetarianism, because you only eat vegetables, fruits, that is why related with vegetarianism. Second, what is the non-violence in its spiritual way? How do we understand? So non-violence is of course a himsa. Why does one do himsa? Now in Acharang Sutra clearly it has been mentioned, himsa is done because of lobha, because of greed. Greed because you want to acquire more and more possessions, land. Always we want more. I should have more than others. Of course, at that time, the situation of the ruling class was different. Somewhere it was kingship, somewhere it was republic in ancient India. So, it is said that what is the duty of the king, or what is king? One, the king has to protect the subject. And the important thing is king has to expand the land. In that, what happens if you have to fight? And in the fight, a lot of violence is occurred. So you kill, you shed blood. I mean, when you take killing, you are instrumental in making that person lifeless. Of course, in Jainism, it is said that Ayusha Karma, whatever the person will live, that quantum the person is going to live. And the person is going to die, the person is going to die. Either I cannot save you, I am not killed, but I am instrumental in your killing, that should not happen. I am instrumental in your death, that should not happen, even by accident. So, violence occurs, himsa occurs because of lobha, greed. And to overcome the greed, that is why one limits the amount of possession. So, aparigraha is given a lot of stress. You limit the amount of your things to be used. So, there is something for your need and there is something for your greed. One has to see there is a very thin line between need and greed. So your requirements, how much do you require? In the time of corona, How much did we require? Did we party for 1 year? No parties, no going to movies, no going to malls. We were restricted in our house, and we were restricted maybe 1 kilometer, 2 kilometer, only getting the food. And what food? Probably minimum amount of food with minimum requirements. We almost survived for 1 year, and at least even more than 1 year probably. It is possible. It is possible. It is possible because we survived very nicely. It is not that we did not survive. We survived very nicely. Now imagine the consumables. How much we restricted. So that means no beauty products, no such heavy clothes, no partying, no wedding celebrations. All of this was so limited way we that was of course for the almost near to 1 year it was stopped, but it was then extended to few people. In that also, people realized how much we are consuming and what we are doing. It was a time for reflection. So ahimsa teaches us not only to kill by thought, word, and deed, to stop killing by thought, word, and deed. Meaning, if I get angry, also, I am doing first himsa on myself because I am committing anger against the wishes of my soul. Soul does not get angry, soul is compassionate. But this psychological, the relation of mind and soul is so crucial to understand. It is a anger comes from mind. One has to transform the mind. One has to transform the mind to understand the real what soul is. So therefore, himsa is to kill. Physical, you get angry and you speak bad words of ill of others. That is by speech, and krodh man maya lobh by mind. So one has to restrict, limit, overcome, transform. That is the important aspect of non-violence and ahimsa. Where do you have to transform? You have to transform your greed into understanding what you need. You have one car. Oh, you think now I have money, let me buy the second car. Nobody is telling not to earn wealth. Become the creators of wealth. But one can distribute the wealth. One can help others grow. Now, when people have wealth, you want to, generally we think, oh, now I have 4 bedroom, let me go for 8 bedroom. Now I want to have a second home. Now I want to throw big parties. All this is, I'm not saying it's not required a show off, but understand where are we heading. In that, what happens now, one aspect of non-violence, I told you, it is transforming from himsa to compassion, lobh to charity, ego to humility, krodh to friendship to everybody. This is non-violence. And vegetarianism, as I said, application of non-violence is vegetarianism. Again I repeat, we can't survive on wood and iron and metals. Of course, in their raw form, those are also living beings like earth body. So the gemstones which are there still in the earth, they are living. The diamonds and all the gemstones, gold and all the metals in their raw form, when they are attached to the earth, they are still living. Once you dig them and you bring out, they become non-living, lifeless. The trees which grow, they are living. Anything which grows is living. Once the growth stops, that becomes non-living. So this is how in Acharang it has, Acharang is the first Agama. Of course, according to Shvetambaras, as we have done, the Digambaras says the Agamas are lost, but they believe in Agam substitute literature which talks of similar things, or rather the same things. Anything which grows is living. The growth stops, it is non-living. So non-violence extended to vegetarianism is in this way, that of course today we eat fruits, vegetables which are plucked. So one has to understand the limit of the daily food. That is why on the auspicious days, Mangalik days, fasting or eating one time or eating food, boiled food, that is prescribed. So one has to understand we can survive. It is good for body also. Body, because it keeps you healthy. Fasting is not to remain hungry. It is a time for reflection. It is a time to give body rest. And another important thing is, food is also classified into tamasic, rajasic and sattvic. We eat, suppose somebody eats a lot of milk, honey, or alcohol, or a lot of meat, or all such things are tamasic, because it is, the animals are killed. In alcohol there is so much of fermentation, so wherever a lot of fermentation is there, that is tamasic. Honey, those are very tamasic kind of food, which increase the aggression. Food has a very big power, role to play in our life, on our mind. We are same to that environment, the same energy is required in the food, and the same energy is there between us. So we and the environment, in which the human and environment is a very crucial relation to one has to understand. Then you have the rajasic. Rajasic is something where it aggravates your energy levels. Okay, so you eat a lot of spicy food, or something which gives you energy, you feel like running and dancing and creativity. That is all rajasic food. And third is sattvic food. That food, say you have fruits, vegetables, grains, which tries to keeps you balanced. At least you don't get aggravated. The body, your body is in such a way that it requires that kind of food. Animals require that kind of food. Herbivorous animals are there, carnivorous animals are there. They will require that kind of food, because our body structure is made like that. Humans require that amount of food, or that environment. They require that kind of food. Now, of course, one has to think, in desert or in tundra region or in ice, where hardly any vegetation grow, they survive on non-vegetarian food, meaning they kill animals and they eat. One cannot do anything about it, because that's the environment. But where it is possible, one can restrict. That's what Jainism says. You can restrict, transform, and you can actually live without it. So, and it is not that you consume anything and everything. There are a lot of restrictions in the food. So it depends on how you train your mind, speech and body to come to an equanimous state of mind. Of course, all this extended to the world peace. Now another thing. Now imagine, but we consume so many things, okay? Air pollution, water pollution, noise pollution. We are instrumental in this. Ecosystem is biodegradable. In India there was no concept of waste. Whatever we used to eat, fruit, vegetable, the peels of which were thrown to the animals used to eat. And whatever waste we discard, that is taken, absorbed by the earth. And again, earth requires that nitrogen, but we don't require the nitrogen. So whatever waste is discarded, you have nitrogen that is used for the earth, and earth grows that. So there is no concept of waste. Everything was biodegradable. Today we talk about bioenergy, green energy, clean energy. What is all this? There is so much of problem of waste today. Big plastic, thermocol, of course, all the whatever gadgets we are using, those take years and years, millions of years to get absorbed into the land. Anything which is chemically made hardly gets absorbed into the land. So one has to think and understand. And the fur industry, the fashion industry, the beauty industry, the cruelty on animals which take place, you yourself think. And world peace is nothing but establishing aparigraha, ahimsa and anekant to the larger sphere. That means I am right. One has to overcome that attitude to see to it that other also has a perspective. And that only will be able to establish world peace. Today we say we are in a peaceful state because there is no fight, we are in a peaceful state. But so much of a hatred and anger goes on to other person who has our opposite viewpoint. We cannot bear somebody who is opposite to us. Somebody says, a husband thinks my wife should always say yes to me. A wife thinks my children should always, mother will say my children should always listen to me. Or mother-in-law, father-in-law will say, oh, our daughter-in-law should always listen to us. Why she has to say no? But everybody has their own perspective. And sometimes even if you have to listen, against your wishes. To a certain extent, one has to think, let this situation pass and then have a dialogue. Let the situation pass and then have a dialogue. If you put your hand in the storm, or you fight against the storm, you are going to die. But in the storm, to a certain amount, if you go in the storm, be stable, then when the storm subsides, realize, come back, you will survive. If you retaliate and oppose, nothing is going to happen. You are the loser. So when you establish the world peace, or we are trying to talk about peace in a larger manner, there are perspectives. Okay, as I gave you the controversy of having non-vegetarian people eating non-veg in the Tundra region, or the where there is not a possibility, one has to be tolerant and respect towards other food cultures, because that is their culture. You realize it, you stop it, you limit. Once you limit, automatically one understands. So anekant non-violence extended to limitations is aparigraha, extended to thought processes, extended to understanding other living beings is a world peace. Because there are so many cultures, so many traditions, so many thought processes, and the conditions in which people act and react, if one understands that, that is world peace, community peace, social peace. So respect and reverence to every living being in the cosmos, in the universe around you, that is one has to understand. So friends, in today's lecture we have understood about non-violence, about vegetarianism, and about the world peace. So thank you very much, and then we now will do our last topic in this series of 10 lectures, how Jainism spread after Mahavira till date. Thank you very much.